Well, good evening. I was going to tell you we're going to get started, but everybody got quiet all of a sudden. So, actually, the first thing I'm supposed to tell you, if you plan to speak tonight and you have not signed up, if you could step out and sign up before we get through the presentation, that would be helpful. I'm John Martirain. I'm the County Administrator for Washington County. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the County Commissioners. So President John Barr, I know they're all here. Vice President Jeff Klein. Commissioner Randy Wagner. Commissioner Wayne Kiefer. And Commissioner Derek Harvey. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone this evening, and thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to hearing your comments and your thoughts about the proposed budget. The public hearing tonight is being held pursuant to the requirements of the Annotated Code of Maryland, as advertised in the Herald Mail on April 27, 2023, and specifically relating to the proposed FY24 tax rate and to consider the county's proposed FY24 budget. This evening, we will provide you an overview of the proposed budget and the FY24 tax rates. Copies of the Citizen's Guide to the Budget are available in the lobby this evening if you haven't picked one up already. It may also be found on the county's website at www.washco-md.net. The Citizen's Guide to the Budget contains a budget overview, a general fund summary, a debt summary, and expenditures by function, among other items. County government provides a variety of services to the citizens of Washington County, including law enforcement, emergency services, emergency management, planning and zoning, permits and inspections, highways, the airport, parks and recreation, transit, and environmental management, to name just a few. The needs of the citizens of Washington County are at the forefront of all that we do at county government. Understanding the specific needs of our citizens is a driving force behind our budgetary decisions. County government focuses on 5 priority areas: education, public safety, economic development, human services, and infrastructure. County staff and all county officials concentrate on these priority areas during the budgetary process as we allocate county funds. The proposed FY24 budget that you will hear about in detail in just a few minutes does not include real property or income tax rate change. The proposed real property tax rate for FY24 will remain the same as it is in FY23 at 92.8 cents per $100 in assessed value. The proposed income tax rate will also remain the same as in FY23 at 2.95%. The proposed FY24 budget is balanced based on these proposed tax rates. Now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Michelle Gordon, the county's Chief Financial Officer, for an overview of the county's proposed FY24 operating and capital budget.
My name is Michelle Gordon. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Washington County. I would also like to extend a welcome and thank everyone for attending tonight. Each year, the budget process begins in November and is typically completed in May. There are 3 major phases of the budget process. The development phase begins with departments, elected officials, and outside agencies as they submit their requests for the upcoming fiscal year. The next phase includes a detailed review, and modifications are made based on available resources and board priorities. Lastly, the budget is formally adopted. Financial forecasts, economic trends, policy review, and citizen input are all part of this process. Many of you are familiar with the county's largest fund, the general fund, since this is where taxpayer dollars are budgeted for and accounted for. You may not know that the county budgets for and operates a total of 19 funds with more than 150 departments. Each year, county personnel analyze, review, and prioritize the budget for over 2,800 account combinations before presenting the proposed budget to the Board of County Commissioners. The fiscal year 24 operating budget totals $342 million and is a 3.97% overall increase over fiscal year 23. The general fund represents 82% of all operating funds. The general fund has a proposed fiscal year 24 budget of $281 million. A 5-year general fund budget history is shown on the top graph and represents an average increase of 4.7% per year. The capital budget is shown in the bottom graph and is $56 million for fiscal year 24. This budget fluctuates more than our operating budgets and varies primarily due to construction schedules, potential grants, and other outside funding that is secure, such as developer contributions. The county has increased the general fund appropriation to the capital plan from $4.9 million in fiscal year 23 to $6.25 million in fiscal year 24. This represents an additional $1.3 million for much-needed projects that include pavement maintenance, bridge replacements, construction of new school buildings, and maintenance of existing educational and county facilities. The increase is needed to offset the effects of decisions made in prior budget years where many of these infrastructure projects were underfunded or deferred as part of the budget balancing process. 96% of general fund revenue is derived from property taxes and local taxes. The top left graph represents property tax revenues, and for fiscal year 24, that revenue is estimated at $143 million, or 51% of the total budget. This represents an increase of approximately 6% over fiscal year 23, or $8.5 million, and is based on values from the State Department of Assessments and Taxation. As John mentioned, the proposed property tax rate for fiscal year 24 is 92.8 cents per $100 of assessed value, and is proposed to remain the same as fiscal year 23's rate. The bottom left-hand graph shows the history of local tax revenue. The majority of local tax revenue comes from income tax and is estimated at $125 million for fiscal year 24, representing the 44.5% of the total budget. Wage growth in Washington County has been strong and is a good indication that the county has recovered from the economic slowdown that occurred during the pandemic. Revenues from income tax are expected to level out over the next 2 years. As the labor market recovery nears completion, the Board of County Commissioners is proposing to keep the income tax rate at 2.95% for fiscal year 24. That rate became effective during fiscal year 23, or on January the 1st of 23. The top right graph shows charges for services. Charges for services represents less than 2% of county revenues and remains flat when compared to fiscal year 23. The bottom right-hand graph represents grants for operations and is also less than 2% of the budget at $5.3 million. Grants for operations also remains flat when compared to fiscal year 23. The chart on this screen provides an overview of the expenditures by county priority. For the fiscal year 24 budget, education and public safety activities combined represent 71% of the budget, or $198 million. Public safety includes funding for police, emergency services, and 911 communications. Education includes funding for Washington County Public Schools, Hagerstown Community College, and your local libraries. Funding for Washington County Public Schools represents the single largest expenditure at $109.1 million, or 39% of the general fund budget. The tax dollar can generally represent a slightly different percentage than the budget, since the tax dollar takes into consideration an offset for other revenues the county receives. To gain a true understanding of where your tax dollar goes, you must also include net expenditures. As you can see here, 45% of your tax dollar is dedicated to education and 28% is dedicated to public safety. It's important to understand where the $281 million budget is allocated. Half of the fiscal year 24 budget, or $140.8 million, is provided to organizations outside of government that provide services to our citizens. $20.5 million, or 7%, is transferred to other county funds, the majority of which is dedicated to capital or highway-related functions. Included in this $20.5 million is $6.25 million to the capital fund and $10.1 million to the highway fund. Debt service represents $15.8 million, or 6%, and is based on debt and amortization schedules. Wages and benefits represent 29%, or $82 million in costs. The county operates on the remaining 8%, or $21.6 million. The general fund budget for fiscal year 24 increased by $18.2 million, and those increases are represented here by function. Major changes include $8.1 million more for public safety, $1.8 million more for capital, and $5.5 million for other includes $1.7 million in transfers to other funds, as well as $2.5 million in pension funding. We just looked at increase by function, and on this slide, we will look at the increase in another way. By pulling out some of those costs more specifically. Fiscal year 24's proposed budget includes additional transfers to the capital fund of $1.8 million to provide support for projects such as stormwater retrofits, facilities roof repairs, highway vehicle and equipment replacement, public safety vehicles, as well as matching funds for parks projects. $1 million for phase 1 of the Emergency Medical Services Transition Plan. Public safety operations increased by $2.4 million, which mainly represents an increase in contracted services such as inmate, medical and food, and costs to operate the new public fire and emergency services training facility. For Washington County Public Schools, in addition to the $22.7 million increase in funding they are receiving from the state, the county's budget includes $1 million more than state-mandated maintenance of effort requires. This provides Washington County Public Schools with an overall budgetary increase for fiscal year 24 of 7%, or from $317 million in fiscal year 23 to $340 million in fiscal year 24. Other outside entities includes an additional $677,000 to provide organizations such as the Commission on Aging, Washington County Museum of Fine Arts, increases of up to 10% over fiscal year 23. $6.7 million was included for enhancements to employee wages and benefits. That includes $410,000 for revisions to the civilian employee salary scale, $4.3 million for a full year of the mid-year COLA that was approved in fiscal year 23, and $2 million for the fiscal year 24 step and COLA for county employees. $520,000 is allocated to provide a one-time COLA for retirees. $712,000 is allocated for 4 new public safety positions, 1 new elections board position, and increases in part-time and overtime wages at the state's attorney's office and emergency services. Lastly, all other changes represent the remaining $3.4 million increase, and that's where the $1.7 million in transfers to other funds is. Difficult decisions were made in the balancing process to ensure that expenditures are growing at the same or at a similar pace as revenue growth. Although in some cases we were not able to fully fund the fiscal year 24 request due to budget constraints, funding in most cases increased over the prior year or remained flat when compared to fiscal year 23. The highway fund is budgeted for separately from the general fund and is one of our larger funds with a budget of $13 million. It is supported primarily by the general fund with an appropriation of $10.1 million. It also anticipates approximately $2.5 million in highway user revenue. Highway user funds were reduced in 2010 by $7 million per year. The county received $9.1 million in 2007 and at its lowest received $400,000 in 2012. It is estimated that over the last 10 years, the county lost around $70 million in highway user revenue. This has had a significant impact on the county and impacts more than just the highway fund. Because general fund revenues supplanted that lost highway user revenue, those general fund dollars were not able to be used to fund other county priorities. The highway budget increased slightly due to wage and benefit increases and inflationary increases for materials and supplies, fuel, and contractual services for tree removal along county rights-of-way. The county has 9 other governmental funds that total $8.9 million. There have been no major changes from the fiscal year 23 budget for these funds. The county has 5 enterprise funds, which include the airport, transit, Black Rock Golf Course, solid waste, and water quality. The airport fund budget of approximately $3.1 million is currently self-supported and requires no appropriation from the general fund. It derives most of its revenue from corporate hangar and T-hangar rent. Expenditures increased approximately 7% related to increase in costs for wages and benefits and appropriations for capital projects. The transit fund budget of $3.1 million is supported heavily through federal and state grants of $1.5 million. The general fund also subsidizes the transit fund with an appropriation of $1 million. The fund increased over fiscal year 23 by $250,000 related to wages and benefits and increased fuel costs. The golf course fund budget of approximately $1.4 million is supported mainly through golfing and restaurant revenues. However, a general fund contribution of $430,000 is required to balance the budget. The golf course budget increased by 14% over fiscal year 23, mainly related to wages and benefits and inflation related to supplies for course and greens maintenance. The solid waste fund budget of $9.9 million is supported mainly through tipping fees of $8.4 million and permit fees of $900,000. The fund receives a general fund appropriation of $450,000, which is used to fund closed sites that are currently not generating revenue and for the recycling program. The budget increased by approximately $818,000 and provided for wages and benefit increases, leachate treatment, fuel and maintenance costs. The water quality funds include the Utility Administration Fund, the Water Fund, Sewer Fund, and the Pre-Treatment Fund. They total $21.9 million and are mainly supported through utility and wholesale revenues. The budget for the Water and Utility Administration Funds include a total of $1.5 million in transfers from the general fund. The Sewer Fund does not require a contribution at this time. In total, the costs increased by $2 million over fiscal year 23, mainly due to increased debt service, wages and benefits, and inflation for fuel and industrial supplies used in the various treatment processes. The budget is based off revenue generated from a 4.7% increase in water rates and maintaining sewer rates without an increase. Capital budgeting is a critical component in serving our citizens. The fiscal year 24 capital plan totals $56 million. 31% of the budget is attributed to education projects, 30% for roads, 5% for environmental projects, 12% for public safety, 18% for transportation, and 4% for other governmental projects. The fiscal year 24 capital plan includes $4 million in county funds for the Board of Education capital maintenance program, $1.5 million for a replacement elementary school that has a total project cost of $44.1 million. $1 million for HGC's second entrance drive widening, and $900,000 for renovation of the DM Bowman Family Workforce Training Center. Public safety projects include $1 million towards the construction of a burn building at the Public Safety Training Center grounds, which was partially funded in prior fiscal years. The total cost of the burn building is estimated at $2.5 million. The Public Safety Training Center Tactical Village Driving Simulation Area received a $2.25 million state grant funding for fiscal year 24, and $984,000 is being allocated to law enforcement vehicle replacements. Lastly, emergency services vehicle and equipment replacement is being allocated $200,000. Major transportation projects include $5 million for pavement maintenance, and this includes pavement preservation, repair and rehabilitation. That also includes hot mix, asphalt overlays, patching, crack filling, and permanent pavement markings. The fiscal year 24 allocation for phases 1 and 2 of Eastern Boulevard Widening Project of $1.4 million makes that total project cost $17.4 million, and that project has $3.5 million in grant funding. Fiscal year 24 includes an additional $1 million for phase 3 of the Professional Boulevard Extension Project. In addition, $3 million is included in fiscal year 24 toward the 4-lane roadway extension of Halfway Boulevard. This project has an estimated cost of $9.5 million, with $3.8 million provided in grant funds. $1.3 million is being allocated for equipment needed to maintain the county's roadways. Stormwater management continues to be a priority. Fiscal year 24 includes $700,000 to construct a stormwater management maintenance building and provide for the Clean County Sweeper program. This program was implemented several years ago and has removed approximately 4 million pounds of debris to date. Fiscal year 24 includes $440,000 for design costs related to the construction of Cell 5 at the 40 West landfill. This project has an estimated $4.1 million cost to design, construct, and inspect the next cell, and the progression of the future build-out of the 40 West landfill in order to continue regular operations. The county currently holds an AA+ bond rating from the rating agencies. This rating is extremely important for the county's ability to secure the best interest rate possible when issuing bonds. This rating provides confidence to investors and other stakeholders as it represents our solid financial position, strong fiscal policies, and that the economy in Washington County is stable. This rating was recently upheld, and we will be making that announcement next week. That concludes the Budget and Finance staff presentation for fiscal year 24. I'd like to thank you again for attending this evening, and at this time I'll turn it back over to John Martorino to continue the schedule for this evening.
Thank you, Michelle. As she mentioned, that does conclude staff's presentation of the operating and capital budget. So now we will move into the public comment portion of the public hearing. So I'd invite the county commissioners to come up on stage. I think when President Barr begins the hearing, he will have a few announcements, but as you can see, there are 2 microphones here. We will have the sign-up list. President Barr will have that. He will call the name of the person who's speaking and then the person who's next in line. Feel free to come up to the microphone if your name is called. And President Barr, I'll turn it over to you.
Dark over in our seats. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a public hearing concerning the proposed tax rates and county budget. We will now hear public comments and the hearing will proceed in the following manner. We will take comments in the order in which individuals have signed in to speak. If you wish to speak but haven't yet signed in, please do so out in the lobby. Individuals will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to testify. This is our opportunity to hear your thoughts on the county's budget. It is not an interactive dialogue or a question and answer session. In the interest of time, if you agree with the position of someone who has previously testified, you may simply identify yourself and state that you agree with a prior speaker. We will then move on to the next speaker. You may only speak once this evening. I'll call 2 names at a time so that while a person is speaking, the next person can be making his or her way to the microphone. Please be respectful and use appropriate decorum. Applause and other outbursts serve only to prolong this hearing. We thank you for actively participating in this civic process. And with that, I'll go over to my seat and call the first names. First up is Dave Williams. Second is Neil Becker. Good evening, gentlemen. Dale Williams. Excuse me, sir.
I don't know if that's on, sir.
It's on.
It is?
You're good.
Oh, okay. My name is Dale Williams. I reside in Washington County. I was born and lived in Washington County, except for a tour of duty in Vietnam. I retired from MAC in 2020. I would like to address my remarks to the Board of Education portion of the proposed 2024 budget. A large percentage of Americans remember a favorite teacher. Teachers can and often do change the trajectory of a student's life. I saw today that the Gallup poll says that between 2020 and 2022, 300,000 teachers retired or left the profession nationally. We are blessed in Washington County to have the caliber of dedicated school board members, administrators, teachers, support personnel, custodial, and food service employees working in our schools. This school year, I have substituted 58 times to give back to our community. On any given day, I may have remained in one classroom, but more often I supported multiple teachers in multiple grade levels in one day. 58 times does not accurately represent the total number of administrators and educators I have had the honor to support. I have watched over our pre-K little ones while they take a nap, and I have been disrespected in our secondary schools. My experiences have shown me that our teachers could utilize assistance in most classrooms every day. Why? Because every day our teachers are expected to not just teach the scholastic requirements, but are called on to act as mentors, counselors, parents, social workers, instilling good citizen behavior, all while keeping our students safe. Imagine, if you will, gentlemen, having a classroom with 20 children in it. Now insert 1 or more students that represent disruptive behavior, and then add students who present learning difficulties which require more one-on-one instruction or support on the lesson plan. Just as you have to prioritize budget requests, teachers have to prioritize classroom time and activities. Our teachers want to teach. They want to provide the best learning opportunity for every student every day. Daily, they are being stretched thin. The 2022 Gallup poll says that K through 12 teachers in America represent the highest burnout rate of every profession our country has. My experiences from the current school year have shown me that teaching is not anything like it was when you gentlemen and I went from K to 12. This should be evidenced by the board's request for 19 new security assistants to support safety in secondary schools. Gentlemen, I know building a fiscal budget is a difficult undertaking with fixed dollars and overwhelming requests. I know you have all busy schedules, but I would encourage you to take the time to visit a school. Go unannounced. Staff and the principals aren't going to like me saying that. Just show up. It's your schools. Tell them you're there, explain who you are, ask for a pass, and just walk around. See what's going on in our schools. The last thing I want to say is education properly delivered builds the foundation needed to become a productive citizen. I've seen children's expressions change when you help explain a concept. They light up when they get it. Please consider all the budget requests from the Washington County Board of Education as you finalize the 2024 fiscal county budget. Thank you for your time.
Next up then will be Bree Calkins and Christy Gross.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. Today's visual aid is an article from 2018. In that article, educators and members of the Board of Education spoke to the need for increased funding. 5 years ago, it was called a needs-based budget, trying to address the increasing English learner population, pre-K, and recruitment and retention of educators. During that hearing, the superintendent said, it is imperative that we do better. And he's here again tonight. Over the last few months, you've heard from Superintendent Savine, members of his staff, board members, teachers, and support personnel. In addition to the same talking points from 5 years ago, post-pandemic and blueprint variables have added millions of dollars to the school system's budget requests. I'm grateful that the county staff and Board of Commissioners didn't pull the draconian measures demonstrated in Hartford County when they reduced the school system budget by almost $20 million. And that could have happened here. Not by $20 million, but by one. Now some numbers about the people who work with our students daily. Approximately 85% of Washington County Public Schools' budget is people, the compensation and benefits for all educators. A Washington County teacher with 10 years of experience and a master's degree earns $68,800. In Allegheny, $66,100, almost 7% more. In Frederick, $64,500, about 4% more. Now a teacher with 15 years of experience and a master's degree earns $68,200. In Allegheny, $74,800, 9% more. In Frederick, $77,300, nearly 12% more. In closing, I ask all educators here tonight, stand up. During a meeting of the commissioners recently, one commissioner twice referenced the pay for WCPS upper echelon. I don't know who the upper echelon is, but look around this room. Clerical workers, food service personnel, bus drivers, parapros, custodians, maintenance personnel, teachers, school counselors, social workers, administrators, my people, They're all committed to student success and the safety of our community's most precious resource. And they deserve a fully funded budget. During this Educator Appreciation Week, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bree Calkins, and I'm a science teacher at North Hagerstown High School. Go Hubs. I'm here this evening to have you consider the world that we live in, the world in which there's an unspoken expectation that teachers use their salary to fund their classrooms. How would our world be different if this applied to other professions? Let's consider it. What if your EMTs had to provide their own gauze and tourniquets? What about if our sheriffs had to supply their own gear? Should the employees of our county courts purchase all their own stationery and office supplies and provide them to the individuals that they help on a daily basis? This sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It doesn't to a teacher. This is our reality. When a teacher walks into their classroom in August, they are met with 4 concrete walls, desks, and chairs. It is their monumental task to turn that room into a warm, welcoming, and safe space for our students. Our teachers do all of this without batting an eye. These learning environments and the experiences that our children have throughout the year are mostly teacher-funded. I stand before you this evening to tell you that I personally spend thousands of dollars of my own salary to fund the activities that my students enjoy. I do it so that they can experience the magic of leaf discs floating on their own in biology, so they can become arson investigators at dollhouse fire scenes in forensics, or feel the thrill of watching a gummy bear appear to spontaneously combust in chemistry. I do this because I love my kids. These thousands of dollars are spent for my students. They are not spent on my own child or my family. We are facing rising costs of living here in Washington County, and your teachers are feeling it. Some of my peers work multiple jobs throughout the school year or work through the summer just to make ends meet and provide for their families. People wonder why teachers are leaving the profession. Well, this is one of the reasons. They're burning themselves out financially. They are choosing to work in other fields that actually pay them appropriately. Tonight, you have the opportunity to relieve some of the financial stress for our teachers. It is your responsibility to fund the largest employer in our county and help them retain their talented professionals, all so that our students can be transformed into the citizens of the future. As such, I urge you to please fully fund the budget of Washington County Public Schools. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I appreciate you.
Good evening. My name is Christy Gross, and I'm a teacher and proud WCTA building rep at North Hagerstown High School. Thank you, Commissioners, for providing this open forum for us this evening. We've all seen the bumper stickers or heard the expressions. If you can read this, thank a teacher. To teach is to touch a life forever. And teaching, the one profession which makes all others possible. These sentiments may be cliche, but they're all true. Know what else is true? The teachers and support staff deserve fair benefits and compensation. Educators are gathered here today to ask that you fully fund the budget which WCPS has presented. Know what's also true? Teaching in 2023 is incredibly difficult. We educators are fighting daily battles against the regression students experienced after COVID closures, the extreme deficits in students' social and emotional needs, and the absolute worst apathy I have ever seen in my 18 years in education. Behaviors are challenging. Attention spans almost nil. But we educators remain committed to doing all we can to meet the needs of each and every one of our students. It's just who we are. Within our school system, there are educational support personnel and teachers who work 2 or more jobs simply to support their families. Additionally, there are education support personnel who earn little more than the high school students with whom they work, who have jobs of their own in retail or fast food. As I'm sure you understand, a fair benefits and compensation package is part of what attracts and retains good employees. But I personally know several teachers who are making plans to leave Washington County or who have already left in search of higher paying counties whose budgets include supporting their educators with fair wages and benefits. Currently, WCPS has negotiated a very fair compensation package, but now it's in your hands. Last year, we requested a fully funded budget from the county, but only the minimum was given. Later, it was reported that the county wound up with a surplus. This was nothing less than an insult to the educators and to WCPS after our requests for full funding for education were denied. Commissioners, please fully fund the Washington County Public Schools budget for next year. This would show your support of our educators and therefore your support of our students, who are, after all, the future of Washington County. If I may quote one more bumper sticker for you, education is an investment in the future. And who better to impart this investment than the educators and support personnel who feel valued, respected, and appreciated. Thank you so much.
Next up is Linda Irvin Craig, and on deck is Dave Williams.
Good evening. My name is Linda Irvin Craig, former elected school board member and former county commissioner. I live in Morgansville. I come here this evening to urge you to reconsider your decision to deny the rest of requested additional funds to our local school system. Continually funding the Washington County school operating budget using the maintenance of effort formula in the past has placed the county funding level at third from the bottom in support of education in the state of Maryland. Even Garrett and Allegheny County beat our score. When we consider that an inmate in our housing for an inmate in our state prisons costs $38,000 a year, retaining a little over $14,000 as our per pupil expenditure places Washington County in a very poor light and shows our lack of concern for children of our county. And why did I choose those comparisons? We all know that studies have shown the anxiety from the necessary COVID isolation and the ongoing fears for safety in our communities across this country continue to affect students who need more access to mental health resources and to all health resources in general. We also want to attract the best staffing possible for our young people for learning. Good teachers have choices. We want our students to grow into productive adults and not fall through the cracks. And for anyone who believes private and parochial schools can take up the banner providing a quality education for all, you are vastly mistaken. It would take hours to explain this, and we don't have the time. But I've been in a situation when I can observe that. Our country's founders believed that a free public education for all was the best insurer of equal opportunity. We are severely hampering that opportunity in Washington County at this point in time. The malnutrition of our schools is the starvation of our future. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's probably no surprise to you I'm here to speak for fully funding the school budget. A budget shows what you value. The state has shown that they value education by drastically increasing their education funding. What does your budget show by not increasing the school budget from your last year allocation? One of your draft budget presentations that I watched talked about the per pupil spending increasing 18% over the last 10 years. Unfortunately, inflation increased at a much higher rate than that. So when you consider buying power, your buying power for this $109 million that you're allocating is actually less than what the school was able to spend back 10 years ago with that allocation. I'd like you to reevaluate your revenue estimates for this year so that we can be sure that there are no surprise surpluses that could be used for all the county needs that are being underfunded. And I want you to know that I think it's irresponsible of you to not take advantage of the state disparity grant. And if that means raising taxes, I, for one, am willing to pay those higher taxes. Because the benefits to the county that I see from those tax dollars and the disparity grant money far outweigh what I'd have to pay with a tax increase. Thank you.
Next up is Kelly Longerbeam, and on deck is Haley Niemer. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Good evening, County Commissioners and fellow WCPS staff. My name is Kelly Longerbeam, and I am the coordinator for early learning for Washington County Public Schools. We are excited to stand in front of you tonight and share our passion for early learning. Pre-K is vital in preparing our students to be kindergarten ready and building that foundation for learning. Pre-K allows for our students to learn those pre-literacy and pre-numeracy skills, which are strong predictors for future success. Data has shown that students who are entering kindergarten not ready are the same students who are behind in third grade. Instead of the gap closing, the gap continues to widen for those students who are not ready. 6 years ago, we were 23rd out of 24 in the state for our kindergarten readiness scores. This past year, we received the state kindergarten readiness data, and Washington County Public Schools was ranked 4th in the state for kindergarten readiness data. We have continued to invest in early learning, and we also need you to invest. Our future is sitting in front of us every day. Our future teachers, our future police officers, our future doctors, and even our future county commissioners. We want to provide our students with the skills necessary to be successful in kindergarten and beyond. There are so many amazing things happening in our pre-K classrooms every day, and I've brought a friend to share some of those reasons why he loves pre-K. So I'll introduce his teacher. This is Miss Haley Munier, and she teaches at MK Dow, and I'll let her introduce. Yep.
Hello, County Commissioners. So this is Giovanni, and he has some reasons of why our class came up with that we love pre-K.
I like my teacher, I like my friends, and I like to learn about the alphabet. I love learning center, and I love reading books, and I love playing outside. I love pre-K.
Next one up is Caitlin Villa, and Chip Woods on deck.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Villa. I work for the Washington County Commission on Aging, and I am the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. You may be wondering what that word means. It simply means I'm an advocate. So I'm an advocate for residents that reside in long-term care facilities like nursing homes and assisted livings. I work to resolve problems individual residents face, such as concerns with safety, quality of care, and violation of resident rights. I work to resolve concerns relating to abuse and neglect and involuntary discharges and transfers. I am the only full-time ombudsman for Washington County, serving 10 nursing homes and 19 assisted livings, serving up to 2,000 individuals. In 2022, there were over 100 active cases that the Ombudsman program was advocating and assisting individuals with. That is an increase of 186% since the year 2021. The Long-Term Care Ombudsman program is part of the Older Americans Act. If the Commission on Aging did not exist, there would be no advocate for the individuals in nursing homes and assisted livings. There would be no one to advocate for changes to improve residents' quality of life and care. I would not be able to advocate for your loved one should they reside in a nursing home or assisted living. Support the Commission on Aging. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Chip Wood. I'm a retired engineer, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I am an advocate for a project known as the Civil War Rail Trail. This is a 23-mile trail that would go from Hager's Park and Hagerstown all the way down through Keedysville and tie into the C&O Canal Trail at the Potomac River. What I'm asking for is only to provide a feasibility study. I'm not asking build it, just look at provide a professional study by engineers, citizens, and lawyers. And my mission, if you look at the mission statement of the county commissioners on their website, it said their mission is to improve public health. Yet, Healthy Washington County Coalition, which comes out of Meredith Health Complex, their recent report shows that Washington County's overall public health has deteriorated for the last 10 years, and principally for the lack of physical exercise. Now, the Civil War Rail Trail, since it's on a railroad bed and flat, it's open to pedestrians, people in wheelchairs, people walking with canes, handicapped, whatever, and it's open to all types of handicapped and disabled people. Now, the county records show that when this trail was studied before, briefly, it would produce a $6.4 million revenue and create 200 jobs for the county. And then since that study, which was some years ago, there has been 4 reports by the state of Maryland that mention trails, encourage trails, and refute many of the past objections that people had to this trail. Please budget for a feasibility study for the Civil War Rail Trail so all the citizens in the county can understand the considerations on the advantages and disadvantages of this trail. Thank you very much.
And Dale Fishak is on deck.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joe Best. I work for the Washington County Commission on Aging. I just started there a few months ago, so I'm like the new guy over there. But my history, I was a Walmart manager for 16 years. So, yeah, I got a little patience, right? So I retired from there, and I said, I'm getting bored. I'm going to go get a job delivering Meals on Wheels. Sorry. And so I was like, this would be a nice little part-time thing. So I started delivering Meals on Wheels, and it was eye-opening to see the need out there. When we started, and this was just a couple months ago, well, right now our wait list is like 124 people on the wait list. One of my initial tasks was to call wait list people when there was some openings. So if there was funding available, I was told, okay, let's go call some people off the wait list. So this is where it got a little real for me. Like the first 10 people I called, like 3 of them had passed away. And I was like, oh man, that's awful. And it really hit home for me when we got to 14. 14 people had passed away. And we've been, trying to get that. So we still have that, over 124 people on the wait list. And it's sad. It's a sad story. But I would invite anyone. I know in the past, I think commissioners have come out on a ride-along with the Meals on Wheels, but it truly was a life-changing experience for me, coming from a Walmart world. I didn't really have the empathy that I should have as a human being until I actually got out there and was in the homes and saw the living conditions of some, and just that personal interaction that some of these people don't get to speak with anyone except that driver that's delivering that meal all week. And, If there's any extra money out there, send it our way. We need it.
Good evening. My name is Dale Fishak. I'm the president of the Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. And I'm here to say that I'm thankful for what I'm seeing in the budget that you're providing for the volunteer fire and rescue service. And I'm also thankful for what I'm seeing in your proposed budget for what you're funding for the training center that is much needed. And finally, for the launching of the EMS plan that is long overdue and finally bringing them in line with what the fire side has already gotten. However, you always deliver good news first and bad news second. So there is still much support that's needed for our volunteers. The volunteer system, whether it's in fire or EMS, is declining. It's a national trend. So we have less and less volunteers trying to raise the funds that are needed to buy the ambulances, which are about $350,000 now, to a ladder truck that's $1.5 to $1.75 million, and that's all done by flipping hamburgers or doing bingos or online raffles. So while we're very thankful with what you're giving us, there's much more work to be done, and we know that you have to share a budget with everybody that's here today, whether it's the teachers, Commission on Aging. And boy, I'm glad I got those out because my wife's a teacher and my mom retired from the Commission on Aging. So I got to make sure I include all of those folks. But we realize that you only have so much money to spend and you have to stretch it apart. So we're thankful for what you've given us. We do need more support when there's funding and opportunities available. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Polly Ward, and on deck is Tom Thorson.
Somebody will take the microphone up. Here. How about the microphone?
Yeah. We got to take care of Polly.
Thank you.
I don't want to knock it over.
President Barr, Commissioners, residents of Washington County, seniors, caregivers, residents with disabilities. In recent years, we have seen the impact of the fastest growing segment of our population, seniors. Demands for the Commission on Aging services have skyrocketed post-COVID, and wait lists for our entire operation include over 700 people in Washington County. The Maryland Access Point interview intake appointments are approximately 6 months out. The Commission on Aging needs a long-term planned partnership with the county years beyond this budget to continue to provide services for our seniors, our caregivers, and those with disabilities. We appreciate the efforts and the time that you've spent with the Commission over the recent weeks and months, and we continue to look for our partnership with you in providing the needs as mentioned. Thank you very much.
That was convenient. He was right in front of me. I was right in front. My name is Tom Thorson. I'm 73 years old and live in Washington County. I have 3 short items. One, I think the commissioners have to investigate the Maryland state income tax to raise it to the maximum allowed, and maybe even look at lowering the tax rate a little bit to offset that. Then that way the taxes will be distributed fairly among homeowners and non-homeowners. there's a lot of older young adults still living at home that need to pay their fair share, and they're working, so maybe we can collect some income tax from them. Number two, the county commissioners need to do a better job selling the financial cost benefit of warehouse construction in the area where they are currently zoned. I looked at 4 properties, and they currently bring in $1 million in real estate taxes. That's a lot of wages for the people in red shirts, and they deserve it. But at the same time, I hear educators speaking against it. It just does not make sense. The Planning Commission and the Business Development Departments did an excellent presentation a few months ago, but did not show the financial cost benefit to the county residents. This needs to be done. Again, I'm going to mention I'm 73 years old and live in Washington County. The Washington County Commission on Aging is a good organization, but I feel they need to be more transparent in their financials. I could not find their 501c on their website. I checked with the IRS 501c website, and their top 2 executives were paid $260,000 in salaries and benefit in 2019. How much do they make now? $300,000-$400,000? I don't know. Washington County Commissioners needs to, Commission on Aging should do a zero-based budgeting to help align their spending with the strategic goals. This approach requires them to build their annual budget from zero each year to verify all components of their 80-some programs are cost-effective, relative, and drive improved savings and value to the elderly. I don't want to see one dime of taxpayer money given to the Commission on the Aging until this is done. Washington County is only partially funds the aging. They get a lot of their money, I believe, from the state and grants. So Washington County is not responsible for the whole budget of their income. I guess what I'm asking for is just a commitment to investigate these 3 ideas. And thank you for your service to our community.
Next up is Ray Weber, and on deck is Steve O'Farrell.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Raymond Weber, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Salem Avenue Elementary School. As the current Teacher of the Year, it is my responsibility to speak on behalf of our teachers in the system, and I'm here to advocate for our staff and, of course, our students as you consider your budget. The COVID-19 pandemic has been and likely will be the most prolific experience of any teaching career. Education and the teaching profession is forever changed. Many students are simply not the same. Since returning to our classrooms, we are seeing more children who demonstrate challenging behaviors, more students who are faced with significant mental health struggles. We have incredible school teams, though, who are able to work through these challenges and lead students to success. WCPS has invested in some supports for students in schools this year that have been effective, but even further progress can be made with the support of the county commissioners. There's another glaring challenge facing schools: staffing shortages, especially with teachers in special education positions. Teachers in Washington County are seeing opportunities for better pay in neighboring school districts. It is critical that we keep our highly talented staff here in our community. They deserve a meaningful salary enhancement, much like the 9.5% salary increase that county government employees have received this year. Finally, teachers today are tasked with teaching children about safety in our schools, like how to respond in unthinkable scenarios. This is actually a law in Maryland. Schools have emergency drills, where students learn and can act out whether they would run, hide, or fight. These exercises can lead to difficult conversations, especially in the elementary classroom. Our community must make school safety a priority. This is another initiative where we need support from our county commissioners. Your county administration building is staffed with at least one sworn deputy during business hours each day. I'm not necessarily advocating for a school resource officer in every school. I can only imagine the fiscal implications of that strategy. However, I am advocating for your help for our Board of Education to prioritize safety and security for our students and our staff, as you have done for county government. Thank you for your time today.
President Barr, Vice President Klein, County Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight to lend full support for the proposed school budget. My name is Steve O'Farrell, and I'm the outgoing chair of the Washington County Schools Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm the vice chair of the Barbara Unity Foundation, and I'm the proprietor of a family business here in Washington County. In the consecutive 20 years that our boys have attended Washington County Public Schools, we have witnessed a school system that has been battered by the opioid epidemic, spikes in behavioral and mental health issues, the COVID-19 pandemic, an exodus of teachers and staff, and also, sadly, not one fully funded school budget in that time period, not a single one. Education is fundamental to development and growth, and we all want the best for our children, not a maintenance of effort. If we say that we prioritize education here in Washington County, we have to actually do so and not hope that minimal funding will produce extraordinary results. How can we continue to tell our children and the fine people that educate them that the minimum is all that you get? Dr. Sovine and his staff have prepared a common sense budget that is reasonable and addresses the true critical needs of our community. Not waiting and taking a proactive approach against these mounting needs, initiatives in behavioral and special education supports are already starting to bear fruit, although the tide is rising and we simply need more. And speaking of more, those of us in business know that our success is driven by the dedication, ability, and commitment of our workforce. To that end, there must be a meaningful salary initiative and wage increase for all WCPS employees. To retain and attract the best and the brightest, we must be competitive with not only other regional school systems, but with other employers like Amazon, First Data, FedEx, and Volvo. I believe the county has launched similar salary initiatives on its own, so the need is clear. In conclusion, we just have to ask ourselves as a community one fundamental question. Do we prioritize education? A maintenance of effort would again return a resounding no. Thank you for your time, sir.
Next up is, I think, Jackie Snyder, and on deck is Anne Marie Jones.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Jackie Snyder. Holly Ward kind of gave me a good introduction. I am the Program Manager for Maryland Access Point at the Washington County Commission on Aging. I brought along a story I want to tell this evening. It's not long, but it's sad. We recently were asked to help a 74-year-old female in our community. Meredith Medical Center asked us to help this client budget her income. That said income is $842 a month. Imagine. Some people in this room will think I pulled this client because she makes $842 a month. Unfortunately, probably 2 of every 10 of our clients are making that amount of money. Getting old. Thanks. So what we were able to do for this client, we were able to get her congregate site meals there at the building where she lives. Title III housekeeping, which is having help come into the home and help clean up her house, do light housekeeping. We gave her units of shelf-stable groceries during the COVID pandemic to help. Farmers market vouchers to help her get some healthy foods. And in conjunction with the county commuter, bus passes so she was able to go to her doctor's appointments. Meredith also helped us get her dental assistance, which was much needed through the family health care. So what could go wrong? We're helping this woman, she's eating, she's warm, her apartment floods by no fault of hers. Her amongst several other residents at the apartment. So she was placed over a weekend into a motel here in Hagerstown. On Monday, we made sure this client had her meals delivered to the motel so she could stay warm and fed. She was then approved for what we refer to as a cream of crop state program for housekeeping, up to 17 hours a week. This also enables her to get some personal care completed, things she really needs to stay in her home and live with dignity. At this time, we would like to ask that you fund us. There's thousands of these residents here, these clients in this community that need our help. My Maryland Access Point department right now consists of 5 staff members. 5 staff members that aren't making much more than minimum wage at this point. And we do this every day. Most of you commissioners probably don't really even recognize me because I'm boots on the ground, managing projects and serving the seniors of this county. Please fund us.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Anne Marie Hines, and I'm the President of Washington County Educational Support Personnel Association and a full-time secretary at Fountain Rock Elementary. I'm here tonight on behalf of our members to respectfully request that you fully fund the WCPS budget. The WCPS budget is about more than just priorities. It is about what has become necessities. We must provide our students with safety, college readiness programs, behavioral and mental health services, and English language for that growing population. These critical components will not be covered without fully funding the WCPS budget. The budget also provides a wage increase and inflation expenses, which allows for WCPS and staff to maintain status quo. I noticed in the presentation tonight that there would be a total of 13% wage increase for county employees. And I can tell you that I think it is extremely well deserved, and I know why. And that's because you can't get anybody. And that's because Amazon and FedEx and UPS and everyone else is taking those workers and paying them more. I know that because that's what's happening to our ESPs. Consistently this year and at the end of last year, for our paraprofessionals who work in the classrooms with teachers, we had 45 plus vacancies consistently. That means that there's somebody not in the classroom with the kids. A lot of our ESPs are making barely minimum wage, and a lot of them work several jobs. I absolutely agree that the county employees need that raise, and our ratified agreement would provide a raise for our ESPs, not that much, not as much as 13%, but it would provide a raise for our folks. And that's why we need you and compensation for the teachers to fully fund our budget. I implore you to support the needs of the children and the residents of Washington County and fully fund the budget. Thank you.
Next up is Kim Torcello, and on deck is Susan Hurd.
Hi, I'm Kim Torciello, and I'm the Community Educations Coordinator with the Washington County Commission on Aging. And I just want to talk a little bit about the impact that the education programs that we offer at the Senior Center have on individuals in our community. Specifically, one gentleman who was pre-diabetic. He came into the Senior Center, had registered for the Diabetes Prevention Program, was not a member of the Senior Center at the time. After the first session of the class, had spoken to me about the Senior Center and what programs they offer, so he decided that he was going to sign up. After the first week of the program, he decided that he was going to take the training for the senior fitness room and take the training for all the fitness equipment. So during the program, we talked a lot about increasing physical activity, eating healthier, tracking the food that you eat, tracking the physical activity that you do. So as the program progressed, he started tracking the food that he ate, which was difficult, and started tracking physical activity. He then started not only participating with the gym equipment, he started walking around the campus. Not only the small walking paths that we have, but the perimeter of the building. He started walking the perimeter of the building 2 to 3 times a day, in addition to using the gym equipment 2 to 3 times a day. During COVID, he consistently came to the center and used the walking paths 2 to 3 times a day, rain or shine. By the end of the year-long program, he had lost 85 pounds, was able to come off of several of his blood pressure medications, and because of his healthier eating and his increased physical activity, had brought his blood glucose levels down to a level that were no longer pre-diabetic, and was able to come off of the medications that were controlling his blood glucose levels. To this day, he still consistently uses the Senior Fit building, and you will see him walking several times a day the perimeter of our campus. After knee surgery, he was ready to come right back, using the equipment and continuing to use the walking paths. In speaking to him, he strongly encourages people to get interested in that program if they have prediabetes, because they learn a lot. He still tracks his food to this day. If he does get off track, he knows what to do to get back on track. And he still does all the exercises he can. He still attends as many classes as he can, because he knows that that's what he needs to do to maintain his health. So the education programs are very important to him, and they really changed his life. So I do encourage you guys to support the Commission on Aging.
All right, I'm standing on a hill here, so let's see how this works out. Anyway. Good evening, County Commissioners. I am Susan Hurd. I am with the Washington County Commission on Aging, but I am also a resident of the county and a taxpayer of this county. And I want to first say I am very thankful for all the teachers that have taught my wonderful daughters. And stand up. These are my girls. One's graduating. One is a Tech High student. The other one is graduating with Clear Spring this year. So we are very thankful for our teachers, our administrators, our janitors. We volunteer a lot at our school as well. Even though they're not in sports, we do a lot of sports activities because we love our community. But I'm not here, well, I'm here for that too, because I am a citizen of this community. I'm a proud resident of Washington County. I am very thankful for the emergency services that we've had, because I've had to use them a few times. Bella. I have an accident-prone child, so I'm very thankful for that. But I am also very passionate about seniors. I want to read something to you real quick from one of my favorite, smartest ladies I think that is around next to Amy, Miss Rosalind Carter. There are 4 kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, and those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. So every day at my job, if you ever call my office, I have all these titles because I do a lot of different programs. One of those programs is a guardianship program. So I do part-time, 24/7 guardianship caseworker, and I have currently right now 11 folks I'm entrusted to advocate for 24/7 for their medical needs. But beyond the medical, because I know the medical like the back of my hand, I advocate every day that they are treated like a person, because they don't have family, they don't have friends, they have me, they have the Commission on Aging. I work really tight with the court system all the time. One of my cases, actually I have a lot of interesting cases, they have mental health conditions, they have developmental disabilities, they have dementia, and they are in facilities, either this nursing home, assisted living, group homes, some of my biggest challenges is when I get a new case from the hospital and they want me to place them right away, and I don't know how much money they have to place them, or what their true needs are. There are a lot of challenges for us where folks are looking at us that we should be able to place them right away or put them somewhere what is the best and most least restrictive place for them, and we have no resources for them. I spend a lot of time with my folks, and I call them my folks because I'm always on call for them and I am their person. Forgive me. Learning them. So I have a lot of stories about my folks. Some people that when I first met them, they said they don't talk. Well, after they meet me for a while, they do talk. I just have to figure out what makes them talk. Some of them love fishing. I can talk fishing all day. I don't fish, but I know a lot about it because I have brothers. And I take my girls fishing. I find the right men that know how to do that to make sure they can fish fun, and catch some fish. So anyway, there's a lot of time that I invest in guardianship, and there's a lot of funds that we're lacking for that. Beyond that, the other wonderful program I get to do is I run a volunteer program that also is for folks that are 55 and older, and it, we encourage folks that are 55 and older to volunteer for Meals on Wheels. We have folks that are at the Maryland Theater. We have folks that are at Discovery Station, at Meredith, and various other places throughout the community. The importance of that program is because seniors need to be needed. I need to be needed, so I volunteer too everywhere. But they need to be needed so they can age well. I saw it with my own family when my dad, he was a big volunteer, he barbecued chickens all the time for the fire company in our area. And when he stopped doing that, he declined really quickly. Volunteers need to be needed. I have great relationships with my volunteer, right, Polly? I check up on them when they're not in and about, and then I do a lot of community education. Our goal at the Commission on Aging is really to make sure people are aging well in our community. I saw it with my own dad when he needed me, when he lived with me before he passed. And over 15 years ago, he lived with me every single day when I was working. I would leave the office at lunchtime and run home. I was his Meals on Wheels person. We couldn't get into Meals on Wheels. We are looking towards the future of our seniors getting ready to bypass our students in our community in less than 10 years. 10 years, so we have to start putting a plan to put some money towards taking care of our seniors to age well in this community. So I ask you to think about our seniors. I know my bills at my house personally have increased more than 10%. So if you would consider the bills that I don't know what our bills are because I don't look at that component. I know what my program is, but things have increased significantly more than 10%. So I ask you to think about funding the Commission on Aging. I thank our teachers and I thank our rescue workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Next up is Joanna Mullendor, and on deck is Sandra Wood.
Thank you, President Barr, commissioners, and staff. I am Johanna Mullendor, and I'm a proud teacher in Washington County at Rockland Woods Elementary. I'm in my 17th year here in the county. I have 3 children, one of which will start pre-K next year, and 2 that are in school in the Boonesboro area. Teaching is my calling, and I'm truly inspired by my students and my colleagues on a daily basis. But tonight I speak to the value of funding WCPS. Dr. Sovine, his staff, and the Board of Education have carefully crafted a budget that focuses on the needs of Washington County students. Investing in WCPS, such as universal pre-kindergarten, results in success. WCPS has proven its worth and commitment to literacy through the expansion of this universal pre-K. WCPS now has 68 pre-K classrooms employing 68 teachers and 74 paraprofessionals, and They're some of the best. And as Kelly Longerbeam said, our kindergarten readiness ranking climbing from the bottom of the list to the top 4 in the state of Maryland. This data is even more meaningful when the enrollment of WCPS is compared to those districts that are ranking higher. WCPS has a higher percentage of EL students and students receiving free and reduced meals, but our educators continue to bring out the best and our students continue to outperform other districts. Pre-K is just one example. Other valuable investments are the math and reading literacy tutors, increased CTE offerings, and enhanced EL services throughout our county. The successes of WCPS students and staff exemplify that public education is a sound investment. Underfunding WCPS compromises programs and staffing, and that's just unacceptable. Our students deserve our elected officials to value them, and you should demonstrate that by fully funding the WCPS budget.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Sandra Wood, and I work with the Commission on Aging. I just wanted to say that many people, when they think of the Commission on Aging, they automatically think of Meals on Wheels, but I want to make sure that, as all of my colleagues have spoken tonight, there is so much more to the Commission on Aging than just Meals on Wheels. And I want to speak to one of the programs that we do offer, which is the Elder Abuse Advocate. I'm just going to tell a short story about one of our Elder Abuse Advocate's cases. He recently received a referral from Adult Protective Services, and it was for a client who was a victim of an identity theft. So it was somebody who had come into their home and had stolen some of their mail and had stolen their identity. So as of this, because of this, they were not receiving any of their mail. They became behind in all of their bills. They were not making payments on their housing. They were not paying their electric bill, their heating bill, their utilities, any of the utilities or taxes. And because of this, the advocate went to their home and assisted them with filling out an identity theft report. They helped them with the senior home tax application to include retroactive applications for the past 4 years. They also helped them set up a new bank account, and they followed up with all of the other resources that were available to assist with overdue obligations. This client was at risk for losing their home because they had not paid their taxes, and she was hesitant to contact her son because she was ashamed. But because this elder abuse advocate developed a relationship with this person, they were able to talk to her and convince her to share this information with their son, and they actually helped assist and make that phone call to their son and share the information. Now, because of this, the son was able to pay the past due taxes and keep this resident in their home. The son is also now managing all of this client's bills so that she doesn't fall into the same circumstance again, and she's now caught up with all of her financial obligations, all due to the help of the elder abuse advocate. Stories like this one happen every week for the advocate. I can go over hundreds of scams that he has covered with each of these clients who've reached out to us. Without the Commission on Aging, many of these clients would not know where to turn to for help. Not only did the advocates serve as far as helping this client overcome these obstacles, but they also served as a liaison with their son. So they helped to develop that relationship back with their son. So in the future, that client can contact their son and get the assistance that they need. So that's the kind of work that we do at the Commission on Aging, and I thank you for your opportunity to speak tonight and for the funding that we're receiving. Thank you.
Next up is Patty Felix, and on deck is Sherry Malk.
I would like to thank the county commissioners for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Patty Felix, and I'm a school secretary for Washington County Schools. I'll be speaking on behalf of the Washington County Educational Support Association. We are the hardworking and dedicated support professionals in the school system. We are the members that are asking you to fully fund the Washington County Board of Education's budget. The request for the additional funding is not excessive or outrageous. It is simply what is required if we intend to provide a world-class education for our students that they are entitled to. A strong school system is the foundation of our community. High-quality public schools are the key factor in attracting families and businesses to come and stay in Washington County, improving our economy and the quality of life. Great schools begin with great educators. We need to make sure that our schools are in a position where we can recruit and retain outstanding staff that every parent wants their child to have. The support professionals are educators tasked with keeping our schools safe for kids. We are custodians, transportation and food service workers, the secretaries and paraprofessionals who work side by side with the teachers and administrators to help the students learn and succeed every day. We need the appropriate funding so that we can compensate our ESPs with a true living wage. Many of us work second and third jobs just to make ends meet instead of long hours working additional jobs. An educator's priorities should be working with and for our students. We ask that the community care for our staff in the same compassion that we care for our students. Everyone says they support education, which is an easy statement to make. Actions, though, speak louder than words, and this is your chance to prove it. Please fully fund the Washington County Board of Education's budget. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sherry Mock. I am a lifelong resident of Washington County, and I have been employed with the Washington County Commission on Aging for over 8 years now. And I'd like to share with you a personal story of my own. So recently, my husband is turning 65 in June, so he is going to be on Medicare. So we needed to have the appointment. We contacted, set up our appointment for the New to Medicare workshop, which is held on a monthly basis at the Commission on Aging. So we had a follow-up appointment with our Maryland Access Point specialist or intake specialist who helped us and gave us information that we could make informed decisions about our future healthcare needs. So just beneficial to be able to have that information. I'm sure many in here have the same need or will have that same need. We do that on a monthly basis. But that's just one of the many services that our organization helps on a monthly basis. Another program that our organization helps is senior clients is the Medicare open enrollment. During that time, from October 15th to December 7th, Medicare open enrollment is to help enroll those new clients into their prescription plan or to change their Part D plan. In 2022, our specialists saved 600 seniors in Washington County over $324,000 in Medicare Part D cost. With additional staffing, this amount served would have been much higher. Every year, all seniors should have their Part D plan reviewed. Medications change, plans change. It's really important that if you are in that Medicare age, that you should have every year those plans reviewed. And we can help our staff, not me, but all of our staff help in those areas. So Commissioner Klein, Commissioner Kiefer, as liaisons to our board and advisory council, you guys have firsthand seen how valuable our services are. You've heard many stories here this evening of how it's not just Meals on Wheels. We have so many different programs, over 80 programs that we offer. And it's important to, not myself, my family has been served. My mother was served by the Commission on Aging over 15 years ago. She's passed on, but she received services. And I seen how her life was touched by the Commission on Aging. And I see it, my friends come to me, how can your organization help me? But I have to tell them there's a wait list. So it's hard to, there's an ever needing services and the demand is always there. So we just ask the more that you help us, the more that we can help others. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Cynthia Brini, and on deck is Amy Olak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I realize that going 20-something in the list means a lot of what you were going to say has already been said, so I'd like to thank all those. I'm here tonight to support fully funding the Washington County Public Schools. Over the last 50-plus years, I've been involved in one way or another in the public schools here in the county. I started as a student, daughter of educators and an administrator. I'm a financial advisor to the employees, some of the employees here. I'm a certified financial planner. I've been a parent. I've served on committees, and I currently chair the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation. And actually, my dad was a Board of Education member at one point. I think a lot of you know that. The bottom line is that education here is what gets people to bring their companies. It impacts businesses here in this community. It impacts the attractiveness of people to come back. I grew up in a generation here where a lot of my friends went away to school, went away to college, then came back to raise families in this community. And as I watch my children now and their friends who are young adults, who are getting to that stage in their lives, they're not seeing it the same way that my generation did. You know, I look at your responsibility as commissioners to help make this and build this as an attractive community. And a lot of that is having the strong educational foundation here. And part of that is having companies here too that attract a workforce that bring so many of those students back to this community to want to work here and contribute here and have their families enjoy the same, the same benefits. And that's something that I think we're challenged with as we move forward. I work with 80% of my clients, 80% of the people that I work with for retirement planning are educators somewhere in the state of Maryland. And I work with people from Prince George's County, Baltimore City, Frederick County, Montgomery County. And I can tell you those counties are investing significantly in their educational systems. I'm watching teachers that 2, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, were considering retirement. They couldn't wait to get out. All of a sudden saying, you know what, I see the future here and I want to stay. I want to keep, they see the opportunities to impact the lives of their students. And we need to make sure that we're funding our educators, our staff, in a way that they feel that same passion, that they want to stay, that they're not looking to other counties or other states to find employment that they know will benefit them more. So please, as you go through this budget cycle, please look at fully funding the Washington County Public Schools. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Amy Olak, the CEO of the Commission on Aging. I know that tonight you have heard from my work family as a part of this community. And I wanted to share with you a little bit of reminiscing because with 20 years in long-term care, I think it's really important for us to look back in time. And so I started here at the Commission on Aging in 2014. And when I came, we were in the midst of building and renovating this beautiful, what has turned out to be the Senior Center for Washington County, which thank you to the County Commissioners in 2016 for investing time, energy, and resources in creating this amazing, amazing building. You know, when I started, they said, build it and they will come. I don't think they actually believed that they would come to the place where we have outgrown. You know, with over 2,000 members active, and each year we do a re-registration for our senior center. It's so important that we invest in the people who have invested in us. You know, these are retired teachers and retired individuals who have been throughout the county and served us. In 2019, you joined us in the AARP group in creating a senior fit building. And that's an amazing opportunity for the public to use outdoor fitness equipment right on the campus of the Senior Center. In 2020, you so graciously allowed your staff to help volunteer. in the midst of COVID, when everything closed and we were deemed essential and stayed open and needed help to get those resources out to the public and community who so desperately needed basic needs. And thank you for allowing your staff to help us get those out. In 2022, you helped invest in the Meals on Wheels program. And at that time, we had 80 individuals to be able to serve through the funds that you allowed us to have. And at this point today, we have 124 more people. The demands keep growing. There's no way to stop the list. And so wait lists continue to grow. And in 2023, I'm excited to join you on May 30th at 2:30 for the grand opening of our Senior Fit Fitness Center for Seniors. I'm so excited to finally open those doors officially as our grand opening, and hope you will join me in that ribbon cutting. You know, in the wake of all of these wait lists that we all know, and for years, the county commissioners have risen up and supported seniors, and I know this year will be no different, because each of us, it will be a blessing that we have the opportunity to age successfully and with a high level of quality in this community. You know, we offer 88 programs, and not everyone needs every program, but everyone is eligible at 55 plus to be a part of our senior center or our volunteer programs. And I am proud to say, as a partner with the county, that with your help, we have served 10,000 individuals in this county. And I think that deserves an applause. 10,000 people with your help. We couldn't do it without you, without your staff, without your help. It would be virtually impossible to do that. And without everyone in this community who rises up to support fundraisers, as many of you come out and support our fundraisers, to volunteer hours, to help package food, all of those pieces matter, because that's about giving back to our community. And so I say this to you in my final thing, as May is Older Americans Month, and as we look at this budget and we look at what we will do, I just say, our seniors have served us. It's our turn to serve our seniors and create a plan that's sustainable for the future. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being there for the seniors of Washington County.
Thank you. Next up is Ed Lowe, and on deck is Nick Malati.
Commissioner President Barr, Vice President Klein, County Commissioners. Good evening. My name is Ed Lowe, and I'm currently the Board President of the Commission on Aging. I'm not really sure I have a lot more to offer than already has been offered this evening by the staff, employees, and by our executive, Amy, but I will add just a few things. We're a nonprofit. Every nonprofit in Washington County submits a budget every year. And I'm convinced and I'm positive that every one of those nonprofits makes their request on needs rather than wants. And as the Commission on Aging, we submit that same type of budget, and ours is also based on need rather than wants. So we already know that the requests for senior services in Washington County is continuing to rise. And the reason that occurs is because the baby boomer generation continues to move in to those ages. We've heard about the waiting list, so I'm not going to continue to harp on those, but it's very interesting to think that an individual would pick up the phone, or a family member would pick up the phone, call us, and say, we need to make an appointment to see what kind of services we qualify for. And we have to say to them, well, you got to wait 6 months. And then they come in and they have the meeting. And they happen to qualify for Meals on Wheels, amongst other types of services. And then we have to say to them, well, as far as the food goes, we have to put you on a different waiting list. That's just a reality. And that's nobody's fault except the fact that people are aging. There are more of us. And I say us as I look at a couple of my friends on the stage. There are just more of us, and there's going to continue to be more of us. But I want to thank you for this robust conversation and dialogue that we've had this year on this budget process. And I want to sincerely thank you for your past support for seniors, caregivers, and those with disabilities. You stepped up last year in a way that you really need to be commended for that, and I salute you and congratulate you and commend you for stepping up last year. We have to have that same kind of step up, if you will, because if we don't have that, what happens is we kind of go back to ground zero where we were prior to that, and we have to kind of start over. But I also know and want to thank you for the understanding that you understand that every year we wait to address this issue is simply going to make the issues facing seniors a greater cost and a greater possibility of costs being out of control. Now, our door is always open. We welcome you to come down, visit, meet with the staff, ask any questions, look at anything that you wish to look at. The door is open. The senior population is going to increase, as I said previously. We know that's a fact. So I want to make a proposal and a request that I think we should consider going forward. I think it may be time for those in the county and those of us at the Commission on Aging to actually sit down after this budget process is complete and consider working out some sort of a long-term plan to fund seniors here in Washington County. At a minimum, a 5-year funding plan, perhaps even a 10-year funding plan. Planning forward in 5 years, of fiscal years, is something that's done in businesses and government all the time. And I think it's time that we're going to need to do that for the Commission on Aging, only because of the number of seniors that are waiting to show up here. So that's my request. I thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Nick Malati. I am currently an alternative in-school instruction paraprofessional at Springfield Middle School. For those of you who are not familiar with AISI, that makes me part tutor, part counselor, part administrator, part secretary. I am oftentimes dealing with students that have behavioral issues, mental health problems, a variety of complications, who are sent to my room every day. And while I do understand that we are not able to hold children to the same standard we would adults, it is important that it be acknowledged that people in my position, in addition to teachers and other ESPs within WCPS, are subjected to a hostile work environment. That's just the way it is. I have been, harassed. I have been called names. I have been threatened with violence. And I meet these students with as much compassion as I can, because they oftentimes are victims themselves, and they need someone to guide them, to mold them in a way so that when they become adults, they do not represent a deeper burden on the budget, which they will as adults if they do not get the help that they need. This type of burden will be exacerbated if you lose more staff members and faculty members who actually are willing to care for these students. Because once they can no longer afford to do these jobs, which we're passionate about, if you're lucky to fill these roles, the people who do fill them will be there for the wrong reasons. So far, and I know that this is perhaps more specific, but I have seen money being spent prioritizing things like clock-in procedures, which are more about control but lack operational efficiency. I have seen curriculums for financial literacies, because I also tutor at Williamsport High School for the EL program. I've seen financial literacy programs that are sponsored by banks with conflicting interests who are encouraging students to go into debt at a time when interest rates are the highest they've been in years, and using specious arguments to do so. I I have concerns about this because I do live a very meager life. I live a very frugal lifestyle, but at the current moment, I cannot afford to live on my own with this one job without going on welfare programs, which again is creating a tax burden on the budget. Prior to this, I've worked in a lot of industries, and one of those was working for the Public Finance Department at Fitch Ratings in New York City. I very likely know the lead analyst who rated our bonds. I can tell you that while it might not be AAA at AA+, the way you value the WCPS, ESP staff, and the faculty is not reflected in that bond rating. I implore you to please actually give us value, give us the means to continue working in a profession that we not only grow from, but that we help grow the future of this county in. Thank you.
Next up is James Mosby.
How you doing today? My name is James Mosby. I'm the president of the HOA, the Hillside Manor. I'd like to bring to the forefront the widening of the Eastern Boulevard. There's a lot of concerns with that Hillside Manor community that there will be an increase of accidents by widening the street there. We would like to see a traffic light at that intersection of Eastern Boulevard and Clickway. As you can imagine, there have been several accidents already without the widening of the streets. The widening of the streets, increased speed. We have several students that catch the bus there. I've been a resident of the HOA Hillside Manor since 2006. My house was one of the first houses there. And there's over 75 houses there now. So the increase of students, I would say anywhere from 50 to 60 students who catch the bus at that intersection. You can just imagine the chaos there now. So I'd like you to take consideration of putting a traffic light there so we can have safety. I want to applaud all the teachers and educators here, but before they can educate the students, we have to get them there safely. So I would very much for you to consider a traffic light at that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Please forgive me for the next two names are hard to distinguish. Is it Ron Etheridge? Ronnie.
My name is Ronnie Etheridge. I moved to Washington County in July of 2022 from Anne Arundel County. I'm here on behalf of myself and my community neighbors to outline concerns regarding the Eastern Boulevard Road Expansion Project. Before I begin, though, I would like to say I find it very disappointing and heartbreaking that I've sat through a large number of testimonies pleading for a fully funded education budget. This should be a priority and not an option. I am a homeowner in the Hillside Manor community of single-family homes located off of Eastern Boulevard and Clickway. I was made aware of the expansion project 3 months ago. I purchased my home in July. I'm highly concerned for the safety of my community. Eastern Boulevard is an extremely busy roadway with only 2 lanes. Adding more lanes will cause a number of safety concerns for homeowners. I sent an email to the county outlining my concerns and received a response from Pam Moore stating that all of the forest preserve behind our homes, which extends 10 feet past our property lines, will be cut down, and there's nothing in the budget for safety highway rails or sound barriers to minimize the increased amount of noise that the additional lanes will cause in our homes. I have children, and there are many other children within the community that play outside, and their health and safety are our first priority. I am here today requesting an amendment to the budget for the Eastern Boulevard Road Expansion Project to include the cost of installing sound barriers along Eastern Boulevard near Clickway, adding a stoplight near the entryway of Clickway to lower the number of vehicle collisions that occur annually at that intersection, and for the safety of our children that ride the bus. We are also requesting to minimize the amount of forest preserve that will be removed from the back of our homes, as this is currently used for privacy and safety from the already busy roadway. For the safety and security of the Hillside Manor residents, we request an amendment to Eastern Boulevard Expansion Project to include the cost of sound barriers, stoplights, and at the entryway of our community, and to replan the mapping to allow for forest preserves behind our homes. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Next up is Ethan Lowen.
Good evening. My name is Ethan Lowen, and there are two primary issues that come to mind regarding the funding that the Board of Ed is asking for. First is the mental health initiatives of the school board that have been mentioned by other speakers this evening. Mental health services is an umbrella term for other phrases you may have heard, such as social emotional learning, diversity, equity, inclusion, restorative practices, and elements of the coming expenses of community schools are all portions of what is meant by mental health programs. And a highly controversial but factually correct statement is that when it comes to these programs, study after study shows that there is no benefit to them. And yet the expense to these programs is enormous. And the reason for their ineffectiveness, I don't believe, is a hidden cause. The causes of mental health, especially over the last 13 years, are really caused by two reasons: the explosion of drugs in our community and social media use among children. And you can literally look at the statistics almost like railroad tracks, particularly with social media use, particularly when it comes to our daughters. There's almost no lag time between the use and the mental health issues that follow. And so mental health issues do not work or the initiatives do not work because they don't solve the causes of the massive increases. The second issue is that money that doesn't come to the school board is being spent on other priorities. It's not like you guys are keeping the money. We have issues with law enforcement. This is not a state that is friendly to police, and the amount of increasing crime is evidence of that. There are issues in this county with fire and paramedics, and the amount of money to cover that is huge. Even water lines, I don't think that's really talked about a lot, not the most sexy subject, but with the increase in population, the water pressure in our water lines is kind of getting maxed out. I believe the cost is like $300 million to fully replace the water lines. That would be done over years, but it's a massive cost, and if we don't deal with it, they're not going to have water. Obviously that's not an option. So each of those needs requires multiples of the funds asked for by this Board of Education. And those needs are without considering the needs of our elderly and historic projects, such as the rail trail that earlier speakers mentioned. It is hard to justify taking from these other necessities to add to the Board of Ed budget when a large expenditure exists that could by itself meet a portion of all the other budget requests that teachers have asked for even this evening. And the numbers that would leave more funds for the water lines, anti-drug programs, the elderly, etc. The easiest solution, of course, is to say, well, let's raise taxes. The problem is that based on the numbers from the Census Bureau, 90% of people moving into this area, meaning between Martinsburg, Franklin County, 90% of them are actually driving through our community to live there instead. And the sustainability of a community depends on the willingness of people to live there. We have to ask, why do so few people choose our community to live in proportionally? Is it because those other communities have lower taxes? Is it because they have lower crime? Is it a combination of reasons? Regardless of the exact answer, raising taxes is only going to make even more people choose West Virginia and Pennsylvania to be their home. We have to be honest about what issues money can solve, which problems money cannot solve, and deal with them realistically. Thank you.
Next up is Renee Moran.
teacher in Washington County, Maryland. At the public schools here, I work at Emma K. Dowds Elementary School. I love what I do. I'm also a single parent that's raising a 16-year-old boy at Winsboro High School. He's an honor student, a top athlete. He's the joy of my life. But because pre-COVID, I was getting by paycheck to paycheck. Post-COVID, I do not get by paycheck to paycheck. I work 2 other part-time jobs. My son is now working a job to give him all the opportunities that he deserves. I want the best for him. But as parents and teachers, we want the best for all of our children in school. We want the best for all of our children in our family. But not everybody fits in this perfect little box as a teacher. I'm a different type of teacher because I know I'm a single parent. And there's many more of us. We don't have the support in our classrooms. I have amazing children with great connections. I play with them on the playground. I have built loving connections with them. But there are still children that don't have that at home, that it shows up in our classroom daily. There's so many disturbances. I have to stop teaching, constantly stop teaching. I've had to stop state testing before, which is, it is what it is. But we have certain standards that we have to continue to do. We are held up to the highest standards as these teachers. I want these kids to know they can reach the sky, but I am being burnt out. I have lit the candle on both of my ends, and I keep doing this, and I'm completely exhausted. I want my light, I want my passion, and I want to keep it going for my little children that I see every day. I want to greet them with a smile and a hug. But at this point, on the income that you pay the support, the income that you pay these teachers, it's not enough in this county. We need help. We need help and support in our classrooms. We need a living wage. So I ask you, please, 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 to fund the budget.
Thank you. And lastly on my list, certainly not the least, Dr. David Savine. Good evening. President Barr, members of the board, I'm David Savine, Superintendent of Washington County Public Schools. First, this evening, I'd like to thank you for your time, your attention, and collaboration with the Board of Education. Between 3 joint work sessions and countless individual meetings with staff, we've had productive discussions about the school district's critical budget needs. The Board of Education's proposed budget is a reasonable request that focuses on addressing the requirements of the blueprint, keeping our schools safe, and providing critical behavioral and special education supports, all of which are essential for serving our students. Despite these significant needs, when you analyze the Washington County government staff proposed FY24 budget, you see that WCPS is receiving 0 additional funding. That's a bit disappointing when you consider that this comes in a fiscal year where local revenues are at an historic high. Considering inflation alone, WCPS needs nearly $2 million more to close the gap. WCPS staff has shared with you numerous initiatives where our school system is leading at state level, like having more students prepare for kindergarten, leading students who speak another language to be proficient in English. And we cannot leave out our apprenticeship and CTE programs that significantly contribute to developing a skilled workforce here for our local businesses. Unfortunately, there's a critical area where Washington County is falling behind other school districts in Maryland. The Maryland State Department of Education recently released average salaries for teachers and administrators in this state. WCPS teacher salaries lag behind the state average by nearly $9,500. Our median salary is the lowest of the 4 Western Maryland counties. Principals, they fall behind the state average by more than $23,000. And central office administrators lag even further behind. We were pleased to see county government staff receive a well-deserved 9.5 mid-year salary increase. Our employees deserve this too. WCPS is the county's largest employer and significant economic driver with 3,500 employees. All of our staff support our community's children. They are dedicated, hardworking, and incredibly talented. We also have to remain competitive and ensure we are the most desired district to work in for our area. I want to conclude by emphasizing a statement that I've shared several times. Wise and forward-thinking communities recognize that the foundation of a thriving community is the investment in the education of its youth. Washington County Public Schools is certainly a point of pride for our community, and I respectfully request that you invest in our schools, and it is critical for our children and certainly our community's future. Thank you.
With that, I do believe this concludes our public hearing this evening, and on behalf of my fellow commissioners, we'd like to thank everyone for their time, their participation, their courtesy and professionalism here this evening, and please be safe and drive carefully going home. Thank you for this evening.